You're listening to Episode 20 of the Fearless English Podcast. Welcome to the Fearless English Podcast, where it's all about helping you confidently communicate with anyone without compromising who you are. Let's get started, Fearless Learner.
Well, hello there, and welcome to this week's episode, where I'm going to be talking to you about the input hypothesis proposed by Stephen Krashen, who has a PhD in linguistics. He is an author of more than 250 articles about language acquisition. Krashen has 6 hypotheses, which I'm not going to go into all of these hypotheses. I'm only going to be talking about one hypothesis, which is, it sounds really boring, but I'm going to try and make it a little bit more fun and simpler so you can understand it a lot more. So what does hypothesis mean? So hypothesis means when somebody creates or thinks about something, so it's an explanation really that somebody comes up with, and they're based on limited evidence. So there's not a lot of evidence, but many teachers and educators have tried this method in their classroom, including myself, inside the Female Language Academy. And I was able to really get some good results using this method. So if you're a student listening, I'm going to help you start to implement this in your own little mini lessons or big lessons or full lessons. And if you're a teacher, I can help you understand the hypothesis a little bit more. So what is the hypothesis? It's basically the input hypothesis. If you want to research it a little bit more, you can on Google. So what is it? So there's 2 different forms of the input hypothesis. So you have one way, which is listening, and the other way, it's reading. So reading, listening, 2 ways to obtain language. And why is input so important? It allows us to see language in context. It allows us to see language, used in, different scenarios. So it's so important for students to really understand that without this part of language, you can't just go into a classroom and the teacher says, let's talk about restaurants, and you do that. It doesn't help you in language development, especially if you're starting new topics, or even if it is old topics, it doesn't help you acquire new chunks of language. It probably will if you do listen to someone else talking about the same content. So say a student has a little bit more vocabulary in that area and they start talking about it, this is also considered to be input. So the first thing you need to do is start to do your research around input. So you're looking for videos and you're looking for reading material. Now, in the past, I used to really focus a lot on only listening material, so videos, podcasts, and so on. But over time, I realized that with natural videos, authentic videos, I should say, it doesn't have a lot of juicy grammar, specific language features within the video. So what I've done is to compensate that with reading material. So what I do now is allow my students to, have YouTube videos that they watch, obviously authentic, which means that it's not created for language learners. It's specific to anyone can watch it. So it's not created, the language hasn't been changed in any way to simplify it. So it's just a natural way of speaking. And then what I do is I look for YouTube videos, podcasts. I even sometimes I would recommend you using Instagram, where teachers are speaking to each other, or different areas, industries, speaking on Instagram Live. That's a really good way to start. And then other students, like I said before, and also reading books in that topic. Now, what do I mean in that topic? So the first thing before you do start to do your research, you really need to think about what the topic is that you want to focus on, what grammar point you want to focus on, what do you want to be able to do after this period of like either the lesson or, the week after the month. What do you want to be able to do? Then working backwards, finding videos related to that topic. Say you want to talk about restaurants and food. So then that's what you do. You go and you find out, how do I, find videos related to that topic? How do I find cookbooks? Or how do I go to a restaurant and talk to a waiter to get some input? So the idea is to get as much input as possible. The more you can get, different types of input, the better it is for you. Then once you've done that, what I want you to do as a student is to start to notice different types of phrases related to the topic that you are learning. So phrases that, in this case, if we say we're doing restaurant, phrases related to the food, maybe the cutlery, the tablecloth, whatever it is, you're writing it down and you're starting to make notes. Now, if you don't know how to make notes, I've created a podcast talking about this. So make sure you go a few episodes back to learn about how to make notes and what the difference between making and taking notes is. So now that you have, found all your different videos and articles and you put it into one document, that's when you start to absorb the language. Your main aim should be to just understand the message that's being sent to you. That's why I think it's important when you are looking for specific videos or articles or whatever, that you do understand a big chunk of the piece of content, or like the video, the article, the podcast, that you understand at least 80% of what is being said. And what I mean by understand is not understand every single word, is that you understand the message the person is trying to deliver to you, most of it anyway, because then you'll be able to understand the message and be able to notice any specific grammar structures that you want to focus on. Say that you're like, okay, this month I'm going to focus on prepositions because I'm terrible with prepositions. What I'm going to do is focus on prepositions. So you listen to all the different ways the speaker is using prepositions, or you look at the article and you highlight all the different prepositions and you look at the words next to it and words after and so on, right? So I guess this is probably the end of what I want to say today. So to sum up, I want you to think of the end in mind, choose a topic, then work backwards. Start to find materials that can help you, that are, easy enough for you to understand and still challenging in terms of language, new language that is being used. So 70-30, I would say. Try to find as much content around the topic as possible. And then once you've done that, what you're going to do is focus on the output, which is you're going to be focusing on, how do I go from speaking to now using the language? And this is some of the things that we learn inside the Female Language Academy. And I do that all for my students because I do understand how important it is to do the input and the output and the noticing and the practicing. So there's lots of different elements. And over the next few weeks, I will be talking about the different elements. But for today, I just want you to think about the input. And until next week, I shall love you and leave you. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed this lesson. If you have, please make sure you share it with your friends so that they can thank you and they can learn something new, and thank you for it. All right, take care, and I'll see you next week. Bye.
Hello, if you enjoy listening to this podcast, you have to come and check out the Female Language Academy. It's my monthly membership for women where I provide lessons to help students develop their English fluency. All you have to do is go to www.blackboardenglish.com/FLA. That's www.blackboardenglish.com/FLA. See you in class.